Johnny Hedgecock.
And I'm Travis Washington.
And welcome to Gideon, guys, the podcast where we talk about DC's Legends of Tomorrow, my favorite TV show, and one Travis is just discovering. And this episode, we're talking about Legends of Tomorrow, Season 1, Episode 3. And Travis, I believe you have the Netflix synopsis.
I do. Let me give it a shot this time. Blood Ties is the name of our episode. Trouble finds Rip and Sarah when they try to seize Savage's financial resources. Snart and Rory try to steal a priceless emerald. Stein mentors Ray.
Well, that's very basic.
Yeah, very straightforward. Like, no, not messing around. Not including any adjectives, any unnecessary adjectives that I can find there. You know,
nothing. The entire Snart and Rory tried to steal a precious emerald has nothing to do with the actual story.
Yeah, it's funny though. But
I just like Stein mentors Ray. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
that's about.
You know the one. You know the one when Stein mentors Ray.
He does a lot of that.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of Stein mentoring people in the next 3 seasons of this show.
Sure.
All right, so this show starts out, another flashback to Travis and I's favorite part of this show, Ancient Egypt. Yeah. Again.
Yeah.
But this is kind of interesting, though, right?
I guess. I mean, to see Rip there, it felt like a good. It felt like a good. This is like what you're supposed to do with a show and a new teaser. It felt interesting that it was like 3rd episode in. That it's kind of like, what's Rip doing? What's our old buddy Rip doing back in ancient Egypt? You know what I mean? And also, what's he doing? It shows the confidence in the writing that they're already like, all right, you're ready for our first adventure, and we're already putting somebody in a unique situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the gist of it is. Rip, apparently, he's already tried to kill Savage once, and he even went back to ancient Egypt before he was an immortal, and tries to kill him, and he hesitates.
Yeah, I got a quick question about Rip. Yes. Because it will come up again later. Does he have any superpowers in terms of strength? Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, just super brooding.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's his superpower is brooding.
Because he fights a lot. He does fight, and he does throw punches. Yes. and they're effective.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
You'll see on a lot of these shows, there's a lot of guys who get punched in the face 18 times and not get knocked out, and then they could get punched once in the face and get knocked out. It just depends on like what they need.
Knocked
for
out
the
with
plot.
a graphics bong, like last week.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So he tried to kill Savage. They take him prisoner, and then they introduce his Egyptian name, and it's Ghalib.
Yeah, Ghalib. Yeah.
Ghalib. For the longest time, I thought it was with a K.
Yeah.
But it's actually Gal, Ghalib.
Interesting. And does that go back to any DC lore? That name?
No. I would assume it's. This is such an assumption. I assume it's Egyptian for something.
Sure.
Or ancient Egyptian for something.
Yeah.
But so they're still in 1975. The Legends are, and they're in Leipzig, Germany. And one thing we forgot to mention last show when we were wrapping everything up, we were so elated to see Hawkman get killed. Yeah. We totally forgot to mention that Kendra gets stabbed.
Yeah. She was pretty badly wounded herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's on the ship, and she's and Gideon can't do anything for her, which is funny because as things go on, Gideon can do kind of anything, but not this time. And she's got fragments of the knife are in her bloodstream, and they're heading for her heart.
Yeah.
So that's
good. Yeah. The ticking clock, so to speak.
And it's. Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody has the line coming up here right away. There's some really good dialogue in this first scene. Who was it who said, simple don't mean easy, Captain?
That would be Wentworth Miller, Captain Cole.
That's what I thought.
Because he also gets this one to talk about that he's paying attention to the exposition from last episode.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about maybe we go back in time and do something to help her. And he goes, Kendra wouldn't survive the time jump anyway.
Yeah.
I pay attention.
Yeah. I hope the viewers at home do too. Like looking right at the cameras, basically what he's,
He could have looked right at the screen and broke the fourth wall. Pay attention. There's a lot going on this show. But Rip gets off a line that I remember, me being the total comic book geek that I am, that just gave me a half boner at the time. Was he's talking about the things he's seen. He goes, I've seen Men of Steel die and Dark Knights fall. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah. That's why I've written down great Rip dialogue, but I couldn't remember what it was. And now I know that was it.
Well, because at that time, I don't think Supergirl had started yet. And in the mythos of these shows, that was an alternate Earth because there's a multiverse. So Superman doesn't exist in this world at this point. And this is one of the very first times they've even teased at Batman being there. Because we're at a point now where you have Batwoman as a show. And there's tons of references. But for a very, very long time, anything Batman was hands off on these Berlanti shows. Nothing.
Probably because they didn't have a long-term plan for the character yet, or how they were going to institute the that universe into this extended universe.
Well, at the time, it was a lot of the movie DC wanted the TV DC to not touch any of their properties.
Right.
Nothing to do with them.
Right.
And they had strict rules to the point that even when Joker came out this year, on Batwoman or some show where they had referenced the Joker before, now they don't. They can't say Joker. They say Jack Napier. They danced around it, but you can't mention Joker anymore on these shows. There was a bit of a push and pull a long time between the movie people and the TV people, which I was always on the TV people's side because the product's better.
Yeah.
So much better. But anyway. Okay. They also introduce a major plot point on these shows is that they have the jump ship. That's the little time ship.
Okay.
Yeah, that could go anywhere.
Yes.
And apparently it needs repairs, and Rip just tells Jax to fix it because
he's a mechanic. That's the only reason he's there.
He's a 20-year-old. He's a 20-year-old mechanic from 2016. Go fix this time machine.
Yeah.
Just do it.
That was a nice touch.
And he does, too, which is great.
Yeah.
Because he literally just says, I read the instruction manual.
Mm-hmm. And they aside from being the mechanic, which we already knew about him, they showed that he does have a level of curiosity to him as well, right? So that was good, too. That's what that establishes. Yes, and that is something that maybe even seasons later comes into play. Great.
Yeah. So, but we'll be getting to that.
Cool.
So Sarah figures out, and there's a lot of great Sarah Lance in this episode. You were saying last episode that really wasn't a lot except for her, hitting a guy with a bong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in this episode.
Yeah, we hearing Ra's al Ghul. We hadn't heard that before, so there's a little more of a whisper of the Batman universe, right?
Well, that's just it. The only thing they were allowed to touch were Batman villains because Arrow was their flagship show.
Yeah.
But Green Arrow, the character, does not have a rogues gallery to speak of. It's a Count Vertigo, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to bring in villains.
Got to go brave and the bold on them, right? Next adjacent.
Oh, there was a lot of Batman. There's Ra's al Ghul, the League of Assassins, the Huntress. They bring in Brother Blood from Teen Titans as a minor villain. I mean, there's a Deathstroke. The Terminator is a major villain on Arrow, and he was a Teen Titans guy. So, they pull from a lot of Batman. You could use those villains, but not the Joker. Or the Riddler, or the Penguin. Or, you could use Ra's al Ghul that's fine.
Yeah.
The Ra's al Ghul on the TV shows is so much better than the one in the movies. Wait a minute. Ra's al Ghul is what was in the Batman Begins?
Was it Liam Neeson?
It was Liam Neeson.
That's right.
I was like, what? I I didn't care for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. Anyways, I mean, like,
hey,
I think all those Nolan movies were like sacred cows, especially Dark Knight for people. But like
yeah,
some rewatching aside from what's his face, of course, Heath Ledger.
Heath
There's a
Ledger, yeah.
lot of flaws with those, a lot of warts in those movies.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I thought Batman Begins was okay,
Yeah.
and the Dark Knight Rises was, saw it in the theater. It was legitimately kind of bad.
Yeah, I was
It was
disappointed.
good.
I was, yeah, yeah.
Dark Knight though, I've rewatched that recently. It still holds up. It's
Yeah,
a great movie.
yeah. I mean, like the Michael Mann stuff, definitely. Like all the heist stuff, like is great. Like when it feels like heat. But there is, yeah, I don't know. I remember there was some weird things about how we're supposed to go along with the Joker's plan. How it's got that element of chaos, but then it's like so perfectly, meticulously planned at the same time. I think,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. There's some stuff like that the rewatching it a while back didn't quite click for me.
And for me,
Anyways,
it's the performance.
oh yeah, oh
Tough.
yeah, 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 out of control, great.
And I remember when they first announced it and they first showed the makeup. The
Right.
geek me was like, "Fucking
Yeah,
assholes!
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
Joker doesn't wear makeup. The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Joker fell into a vat of acid and his skin was bleached and turns his hair green."
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember loudly bitching on the internet like one does.
yeah.
And then the movie came out, and I was like, "Oh, shut up, Steven. This is fucking outstanding."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But Sarah comes up with a scheme to stop Savage, but because she says, "Well, he was trying to sell a nuclear weapon. You know, we were there at the auction. Everyone had their guns."
yeah.
That's still funny to me.
Yes,
I've been
yes,
laughing about that all week.
yes.
And so he must need money. Where's his fortune? And then Gideon, of course, Gideon, the deliverer of exposition on these shows, just pops in and goes, "I believe his fortune is at the Bloom." I thought it said Bloomberg Group, and all it was
God.
Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah, yeah.
Of
That would
course,
make
Mike
sense with like
Bloomberg.
what that crew was like at the end, because like, Bloomberg's infamously an Epstein guy.
Oh, that explains the party.
Yep, yep,
We'll get to the party.
yep.
That was outstanding.
Yeah.
But and as soon as she says bank, of course, Leo, Snart, and Rory come in. "Did you say bank?" And when someone say bank, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't need you. We don't need you."
They
But it's
weren't
all
even
just
in the
so.
same room, but it's like
Yeah,
they were part of the conversation.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
They're eavesdropping.
Yeah.
Well, just wait. Wait till they say something that I can walk in and be witty. Okay, hold on. We need to go to a bank. Bank. That's it. Let's go. Did someone say bank? We're practically guards. We nailed it. They went back to their quarters and just we nailed that.
Or else they realized they walked into like a bathroom or something. Oh shit. Okay, try it again.
They walk into where Kendra is in the sick bay and they say it, and Stein and Ray go, "What the fuck are you talking? Oh shit!" Still trying to figure out the layout of this fucking the Wave Rider.
Okay.
But so Snart basically he was what he was doing. He was lifting the keys. He pickpocketed the keys to the jump ship.
Yes. Yeah.
From Rip.
Yeah.
Which how he knew what they even looked like, or why
I know.
he had them in his
I know.
pocket.
He
Who
just
knows?
grabbed something that he thought was fun to grab. Yeah, sure. All right,
So we're on to the first of our. There's three. We have three storylines in this episode, because they do this a lot with a team. You know how it is with a team show like this. It can't constantly be the team together. You have to have all these side stories.
Right.
And the first is, of course, Kendra, as we mentioned, and Professor Stein and Ray gonna cure, of course, because Ray's gonna shrink down in his Atom suit, go into her bloodstream, and destroy the pieces of the knife.
Yeah. Adam wants to save the day, as always.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's in there, and I had forgotten all about this. I don't even know if it registered with me at the time, because I wasn't thinking about the fact that Victor Garber played the captain of the Titanic in Titanic.
Yes, yeah. I mentioned this, the Titanic joke, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he's saying, "There's one more piece, Raymond, or the next piece is coming up. He goes, where is it? He goes, it's the size of an iceberg. How can you miss it? And then Ray says, that's probably what they said on the Titanic. And then it cuts to Victor Garber reacting like, ugh.
Yes, I know. It's so like borderline breaking the fourth wall. Like it's almost like he couldn't spike the camera for a second too. I bet you they tried it. I bet you, let's see if it works. Just for safety's sake, let's try one where you look right in the camera, Victor.
But he just looks right in the camera and slowly shakes his head.
Oh, brother, don't I know it?
The shot they used looks like the Garber legitimately then went, "Who wrote this shit?"
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Oh, it was deliberate.
Holy fuck! But so something happens and Ray gets shook and he leaves Kendra's bloodstream. And so this
I didn't quite get that. I don't get what made him have to jump out there.
A piece of it hit his suit.
Yeah.
And he panicked.
Okay.
It's what this all leads to. This goes back to an episode of Arrow. He describes it where his fiance was killed in front of him.
Yeah. We get some of that in this.
Yeah. During the siege of Star City by Deathstroke the Terminator and his army. It's season 2 of Arrow. It's outstanding. It's one of the best seasons. But so Martin Stein, he's trying to save this poor girl, Travis. He's got to, get his confidence up. Because as we know, they've already mentioned that, Ray was Martin's student, and Martin doesn't remember him.
Yeah.
So he finally, he tells Ray, he's like, there was a time where I was feeling kind of I wasn't very confident in myself. There was a student I had, and he figured out the problem, whatever.
Yeah.
And it made me feel dumb. And that student was you, Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you do remember me. And that he gets him to talk about his fiance and gives him a pep talk. Yeah, it was very good, good heartfelt scene. And he's giving Ray confidence. And so he goes in and he saves her. He blasts all the pieces of the knife out of her bloodstream, comes back out, and it turns out Ray figures it out. He's like, wait a minute, I figured out that theorem 2 years after I was in your class.
That's right.
You really didn't remember me. And Victor Garber says, and it's the best, because I made jokes about, why wouldn't you remember you had Ray Palmer in your class? He's famous. He's a famous tech guy. But when he just says, yeah, I had a lot of exceptional students.
Yeah.
I was a teacher. And I was like, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I suppose, yeah.
I would imagine if you're a teacher who's been, you have a giant college classroom every year for decades, you're going to not remember everybody.
No, that makes sense. But again, we have Victor Garber manipulating friends or people who are supposed to be friends to further his own means or his own agenda, I guess, or whatever it is he's trying to get, his own end game.
And he didn't roofie Ray.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least there's that.
Yeah, it's progress.
But, and at the end of this, Kendra is healed, and she wakes up because she's having a psychic vision of where Rip and Sarah are, and that they need help. But before we get to that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add with Ray and Stein?
I don't think so. It might come up in the kind of crossover because we do kind of bounce over. Like, as I said, my notes are kind of more chronologically as we go through this. But that was we talked about that heartfelt scene with the pep talk. That was good. We're getting to see some Routh, some of that Routh gold as to why this guy was chosen to be the Man of Steel at one point. He's also really good. The other role, film role I loved him in was Scott Pilgrim. Even though
I love that.
Yeah.
I had never seen Scott Pilgrim until 3 months ago.
Wow.
It was just one of those things. I was like, I'm gonna get around to it. I finally watched it 3 months ago and just like, what was I waiting for? This is outstanding.
I know. I love the casting, the music, the everything. Yeah, just the pace, the inside jokes, really good stuff.
I mean, Michael Cera is very hit or miss for me, whether I can tolerate him on my screen. It's like Arrested Development, of course.
Yep. And
this, because I'm familiar enough with the source material to go, no one else could have played this.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
But our next storyline, this is my favorite, is Snart and Rory go to the jump ship where Jax is fixing it.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we need you to go to Central City. I need to steal an emerald from the Central City Museum. And, of course, Jax is like, what are you fucking talking about? You know, Kendra's dying. We got shit to do, and you need to steal something. And he talks him into it. He sweet talks him into it. Like, don't you want to take this baby out and see what it can do?
Mm-hmm.
And shows him that he's still... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I like that. The moment he's like, if I wanted to, which I'm not saying I do, we don't have this thing, and he reveals that he has that
the keys.
The keys. But even like I like that delivery of that line when he says that if I wanted to, you can tell he wants to.
Yeah.
So he like you're seeing more of that curiosity, right?
Yes.
That's pretty good, and you can see how it's going to be kind of chocolate and peanut butter with the with Captain Cold and Heatwave.
Mm-hmm. And there's the bond again. They do a lot of great bonding in these episodes. These early episodes get these characters to bond together, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. But Jax and the Professor with Captain Cold is really good stuff because he's a villain, he's a thief, but he's really smart, and he can hold his own with them, and they really flesh it out.
Yeah.
Like Rory at this point is a one-note character. You know, that changes over the course of the series, but at this point he's very one-note.
Mm-hmm.
So they agree. They go. And you get to see Captain Cold in his full Captain Cold outfit with the cool sunglasses when he's stealing the emerald.
Yeah.
And the size of this fucking fake emerald is outstanding. Yeah. It's the size of a baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. Reminds me of the Great Muppet Caper.
There you go.
Yeah, baseball gem.
So they steal it, and they get on the ship, and Rory's just like, great, we stole an emerald, let's go. And he's like, not so fast. We need to go to this address.
Yeah.
And Jax is like, what's that? And Rory goes, that's where he grew up. And then Rory figures it out. He's like, all right, that's the emerald, you know. Your father went to jail for stealing in 5 days from now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're going to do it now, try to keep your dad from going to prison. And then Rory, the big dummy, he's like, didn't Rip tell us not to mess with the timeline? Well, he's paying attention all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's calling him Rip, too, and not the Englishman.
Yeah. I really, okay, so this storyline, it's your favorite. Yeah, and I'd say probably my favorite in this overall for this this episode too, by the end. But at this point, when it showed up here, now that they were adding another thing, I was like, geez, whoa, slow down, you guys. Like, pick something, right? Because we'd already had those other storylines. It started to feel like they were packing too much in when they had added that he's got this extra thing that he was doing here. At least that's the way it felt the first time I was viewing it. I mean, slowly but surely, I cared more about this than I did the main one with Vandal.
And agreed. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And this is referencing. In fact, if you watch previously on Legends, they're showing scenes from an episode of The Flash with his grown-up father, played by Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
Plays his dad. And on the previous season of Flash, Captain Cold kills his father.
Wow.
Yeah, he blasts him with the ice gun with a big giant icicle right through his chest.
Damn.
Kills his his really evil father.
Yeah.
And so this story is you kind of had to know about that for really to work the first time. Okay. But what really puts this over for me is the acting job that Wentworth Miller pulls off here.
Yeah.
It's like we've been having a lot of fun on the show, you know, doing Wentworth Miller lines where he's chewing the scenery. But in this scene, he goes to bring the diamond there, and he meets his little 6-year-old self.
Yeah.
Comes down, and he's like, "Are you a friend of my daddy?" And he's like, "Somewhat."
Yeah.
And he's like, "My name is Leo," and Wentworth Miller drops all of the scenery chewing, you know, talking like a snake and stuff, and has a scene with this little boy that is heartbreaking.
Yeah, It's really, really good.
It's so good. Maybe we could clip it out and drop it in here if we can figure that out.
Yeah,
But
I'll see if I can. There's just like right at the best moment of the whole thing was just as it's ending when he's interrupted and just tells him to go up to his room. That's a sweet little cherry on top at the end there.
Yeah, but when he says to him, he's just like, "Listen, Leo, you need to." He's like, "Never let anyone hurt you. Not here in your head or here in your heart."
Yeah.
And then his dad comes down. He's like, "Get the fuck away from my kid," he's stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this amazing scene with his father, telling him, "Look, I stole it for you. I know what's happening. You're not going to go to jail. And if I hear that he basically tells him the only reason I'm not killing you again is because then my sister will never be born."
Yeah.
His sister is a character on Flash too. She's also a villain, the Golden Glider. Straight out of the comics, Captain Cold's sister is the Golden Glider.
Cool.
And but this whole scene with with young Leo and his father is outstanding. It's where Wentworth Miller really shows off the chops he has as an actor.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I came down for a glass of water. I'm Leo. Are you friends with my daddy?
Kind of.
I think my daddy's sleeping.
Can I tell you something, Leo? It's important. Don't ever let anyone hurt you. Ever. Not here. Especially not here. No matter what, you always have to look out for yourself, okay? Understand?
I think so.
You get the hell away from my boy, you son of a bitch.
Why don't you go on up to bed? Go on.
And then, but by the end, because here's why he wanted to do it. I'm sorry. Here's why he wanted to do it. Because his father didn't beat them until he went to jail.
Yes.
That was all he was trying to do, was to keep his mother and him and his sister from getting beaten. And that was it. And that tears you apart.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because the timeline's the timeline. It's going to self-correct. And his father gets arrested for trying to fence the fucking the jewel.
Yeah, 5 days later, and just keeps it the same. Yeah.
And goes to jail. And he has a nice little scene with Jax. And Jack's like, "Man, you tried. That's something." And he's like, "No, it's not." With the whole basis, you don't fuck with history. He's like, "Well, like history fucked with me first," or some shit like that. And it's Wentworth Miller is by far he's the all-star of this episode. Just so good.
Yeah, and that's harsh to see. His intervention doesn't change anything for him. It does reveals a lot about his character here, especially with those scenes you talked about, but just the actions behind, everything, right? Like it really peels back this facade of the, I'm in the middle. I don't really care about, good or bad, these sorts of things, which is awesome.
He's the shade, and it's been since he was on The Flash, but he's the Shades of Grey character, which is outstanding on the issue, because these shows are pretty much, there's some of that, but there's the bad guys are the bad guys, and the good guys are the good guys.
Yeah.
But Captain Cold is the Shades of Grey character, which he is in the comics. It's what they turned him into. Of course, in the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s, no, he's just a bad guy. But the mid 80s on, they really turned him into he's not that bad of a guy.
Would you say, is he to Spider-Man like Sandman? Sort of,
but Sandman's like kind of a dummy.
Yeah.
At one point, he calls himself Commander Cold and is a good guy filling in for the Flash who's missing. But at any time he can turn back to stealing. And he's the leader of the Rogues Gallery, and he's got a strict rule book. No drugs, no hurting kids, you have to follow his fucking rules if you're going to be a criminal in Central City.
Cool.
He's got honor to him. Yeah, he's an amazing character, and I just love that they got Wentworth Miller to play a guy who was eventually became one of my favorite characters in the comic books.
Cool.
But anyway,
I
could go
question.
on. I could go.
Yeah. Quick question. Central City, is that supposed to be? What's the equivalent? What's the American? Is it DC?
It's DC. It's the Midwest. So
but is it meant to be like Washington D.C.? Is that what it's meant to be? No.
No. Central City is in the comic books. It's the Midwest.
Okay.
That definitely, because Barry Allen is a Midwest corn-fed guy, and it's
Des Moines.
Kansas, Des Moines.
all of the primaries in the DC universe start in Central City.
Yeah, that's it. Des Moines is just filled with supervillains for some reason. I was about to say Kansas City, but Des Moines, I think that's a lot better.
I've been to Des Moines. That's the only place in the Midwest. I was there last year for that. I'm the spokes robot for Farm Bureau Financial Services. I have been for like 3 cycles now. Give me a line. Okay, you gotta give the listeners a line. By the way, real quick, we've got a lot more listeners than I thought we were going to have right away. And so thank you everyone for listening to the show. But they all know, you're a professional actor. You're the spokes robot? Yes. For Farm Bureau Financial. I've done total 6 ads that are out there right now and 3 more to come that I just shot like last month. I still haven't been paid for, or not even last month. God, it was February. There's always 90 days. If some of these big jobs you don't get there, it's always like 90 days if they have to pay you, and you'll get it on day 89, man. And it's just, let me think. I'm always like the gimmick is that it's, you don't, for your insurance needs or your financial needs, you don't want to have to go through online, right? You want to get that human touch, right? So it'd be like, a guy winks at me. He's like, well, we're thinking of we need a home for the 2 of us with room for more. And he kind of winks at me, and I'm like, your ocular cavity is malfunctioning. Things like that. It's some great stuff. The last batch was awesome, and they really let me riff a lot at the end there. So we'll see when these ones. I'm excited for this next batch, but I'll post next time we share stuff. Yeah. We
have to share them with the listeners. And one more question before we move on. This insurance company, how do they feel about maybe sponsoring podcasts?
I should ask the Farm Bureau Financial. Oh my God, throw in some ads for Farm Bureau. You're right, man.
We could do reads. You could do them as the robot. I'll be I'll be the guy. You can be the robot. We can do them, man.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I said, I love that we're being hosted by Pro Wrestling Only right now. Like that's why we've got the viewership we have.
Yes.
So that's great. However, we're not wrestling, so I have that separate SoundCloud link that I'm starting right now. I should say, I was going to say this is kind of bookkeeping stuff. We're kind of at midway point here, anyways. It's good to kind of catch our breath. So yeah, now that we're kind of at the halfway point here, I did want to just kind of tell people about that. Well, we are being hosted by the Pro Wrestling Only Network, and that's been great for our listenership, as you said. I am starting up a separate Gideon Guys SoundCloud that we've posted already. I haven't done it separately on iTunes yet. I will. But for the time being, we will post that as well. So, if it's easier for you to go over there, because whatever works for you and your podcasting habits, if you are a diehard Legends of Tomorrow fan and are sick of all the pro wrestling content, that might be a good place for you to go. However, right now I'm using the free version, so I might, which only allows you to put up a certain amount of episodes. So I will start to archive them on YouTube for the time being.
Nice.
Until I start to find or I discover another plan, which I will eventually. People
can send us money too.
Yeah, I was thinking about at some point we may set up a Patreon or something like that. Yeah, that's a great pitch right there, pal. Everybody's on board now. Oh, awesome. Because I am, later today I'm recording a new podcast idea that I'm really excited about, that I probably will be hosting there as well. And
you want to give us more information?
I will. But I just wanted to make sure to let everybody know that if episode 1 or episode 2 are not there, next, as I post this next one, I will provide links for an archive that we'll do at YouTube in the meantime. But yes, my new project is called Yours, Mine, and the Truth. And it has a lot to do with being home and just like looking at all the stuff you have and starting to reevaluate the stuff that you've got in your house and what's worthwhile. But also you just get like, there's just, I don't know if, I'm sure this is happening to you. I'm sure it's happening. I know it's happening to a lot of people, is you start to get nostalgia and start looking back at things that you've watched or rewatched or listened to. And for me, it's going back. Basically, it's me going back and looking at these texts from my youth that I really, really liked or that were really important to me at the time, and finding out and talking about it with other people, and finding out if it stands up or if my taste as a teenager, if I had shit for brains. You know what I mean?
Let's see. Then thinking that you're a male and you are a teenager, it's going to lean more shit, I think.
I think so too. However, the name of the and I really feel like it's going to be 50-50, and it's not going to be entirely like by youth. I mean, like there's going to be stuff like I feel like one of my favorite Spielberg films is AI. Right, and I know that movie was not beloved, and I remember at the time just being like, "Damn, what the fuck was that?" And I still kind of think about it, and I'd like to go back. And I have a friend who's a film producer and a big Kubrick guy, so that would be the person who I talked to with on that one. I remember we went together. All these people I have connections with too. That I was lucky to. But I'm kind of bearing the lead, is which the title comes from my favorite band that put me through high school, which was Extreme. I don't know if you can remember them from the More Than Words.
Okay, yeah, I just like More Than Words.
A Stone Cold classic, right?
Wasn't that the guy who was briefly in Van Halen?
Van Halen, Gary Sharon, yes, all this, right? And this was a band that I fell in love with at a time when nobody else was. Like I followed them so much, and it in a weird way. What happened with them shaped the way that I started looking at art in general. Not necessarily about the quality or who they were, but I started to cheer for just any type of art that was overly ambitious but didn't necessarily click. And I think that, so what I'm doing for the first 5 episodes is I'm going through their entire discography, and I can't tell you how much I don't care if I get thanks PWO. I mean, if Kelly's nice enough to post this for me, if I get 60 people, that's great. If I get 6 people, I don't fucking care, man. I'm just so happy to be having these conversations with my friends, and all of the people. I'm really excited the people I have lined up for the beginning here. Johnny, there might be at some time where if you have an idea, I'll call on you.
I already have an idea.
I'm telling you right now that what we're setting up with this inaugural first 5 episodes is everybody has to give me their top 5 Extreme songs, no matter what we're talking about.
Oh boy,
I know. Hey, those are the rules, man. Those are the rules.
So that means I'm going to have to listen to it. I only know one song.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing, too, is we're figuring out, as we're going through track by track, what makes the short list of the playlists I give to future guests.
I got it. Okay. No, that sounds outstanding. I'll even tell you what my idea is right now. We'll do it right on the air.
Okay.
You want to talk about, because you mentioned AI and Spielberg.
Yep.
Here's mine to that I'm willing to go back and look at again. Young Sherlock Holmes from the 80s.
Okay.
Have you never seen Young Sherlock Holmes?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Oh boy, it's Spielberg adjacent from the 80s, and let me put it this way: they had a lot of leftover props from Temple of Doom that they used in this. I have such an amazing, fond teenage memories of it, but I did recently watch bits of it a year ago and went, what was wrong with me? I want to try it again. So that's something for the future. But no, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And you should never, again, I don't either. I don't ever get too upset about how many people are listening. If we're just making anybody happy, and if people are listening and you're enjoying this, that's makes us, both of us, feel wonderful. It doesn't have to be, we would love it to be a ton of people. So spread the goddamn word, you motherfuckers.
So I'm really excited about that.
I can't wait. I can't wait to listen.
We should tell people as well. While we're in the middle here and pushing stuff in the
most podcasts do their plugs at the end of the show. Not us.
No, middle's a good spot too. It's not unheard of. I was going to say
it's like Howard Finkel, the late great Howard Finkel, would announce the matches for next month's card. At wrestling. There's your wrestling content, PWO.
Exactly. And speaking of wrestling content, I really wanted to make sure that we promote our what we got together and did last night there, Johnny, with our friend Kelly Nelson. Brought back my favorite show of all time.
Yes.
Mystery Titans Theater, and I got to be a part of it. So we did.
I'm going to explain this to the Legends fans out there I know a lot of people are listening through the Facebook groups. So again, thank you to the Facebook groups for your support. And you might not know what we're talking about, what Mystery Titans Theater is. Basically, it's a show I used to do with my other podcast partner, Kelly Nelson, who we mentioned, who is Travis's best friend, where we would watch old bad wrestling and do Mystery Science Theater over it. And we hadn't done it in a long time. We brought it back yesterday. It's posted now. We'll include a link if anyone's interested. The non-wrestling fans, where we watch an abysmal 2-hour professional wrestling show and riff over it, and proceeded to crack each other up for 2 hours.
Again, if 6 people watch, that's fine, but I could care less.
Someone I know they'll love
it.
If you wanted to hear about Hulk Hogan's torn nutsack, or 2 Boston cops discussing what it means to be a demigod as the mighty Hercules wrestles, this is the show for you.
So fun.
But speaking of shows, let's get back
to Central City.
Well, Central City.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah. Because the A story is Sarah and Rip's story. So they decide they're going to go to this bank, and it's not Bloomberg, it's something close, but it's good enough because it's German. And they show them walking to the bank in their dope outfits. And again, like we mentioned, they're spending some money on songs.
Here's the good thing. What I'm doing right now is it's good as I'm watching. I just ask my phone, what song is this? And they tell me right away. Here's the Isley Brothers Fight the Power.
Oh, yeah.
And a little later we get Montrose, I Got the Fire. I'd never heard of Montrose before.
Oh, okay. Montrose was during the fight scene then, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Montrose was Sammy Hagar's first band.
Yeah.
It's all Van Halen. It's all Van Halen on Gideon guys today. It all goes back to Van Halen.
But here's the thing, Johnny. I'm going further with these searches, and of course the Isley Brothers have been represented by tons of different labels over their career, depending on global distribution and things like this. Motown and everything. But included in that is Warner Brothers. Montrose has only ever been represented by one record label their entire career. You want to know what that was, Johnny?
Warner Brothers.
Correctamundo.
So you might have been onto something.
Yeah, I think so.
You might have been onto something.
I think so.
That would make sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. God damn it, Travis, you're a goddamn genius. As my father likes to say when you do something really good, because he just loves this scene from Forrest Gump. He's like, "You're a goddamn genius, Gump." When he's putting the gun back together.
Yes.
I've seen my father working with guys, and they do something like, "Hey, I think I got this fixed," and just look up underneath the hood. "You're a goddamn genius, Gump." There'll be lots of more stories about my old man on the show as we go through the years. Believe me.
I love him.
I had a very much different relationship with my old man than Leonard Snard had with.
I like that kind of backhanded compliment.
Yeah. Anyway.
And this one I'm like, they stay in 1975 forever.
Oh, yeah, no, they really could. But we're not, as we'll find out.
Yeah.
But, so they're walking to fight the powers that be. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I love the Isley Brothers.
Yeah.
I
it was
adore
really good.
the Isley Brothers. So their story to get in there is they've got these Spanish doubloons to deposit worth $10 million each. And that's cool because, they're real. Rip he has a fucking time machine. Of course they're real. And they get into the office, and the actor who they meet with, and this dude has got a haircut you could wind your watch to, and a square jaw.
Yes.
And he looks like he could be. He looks very much like a soap opera actor.
I said like a Z grade Eric Roberts.
Yeah, or even he'd be like the secondary character in a Columbo.
Yes.
He's not the murderer, but he's semi-involved with the murder.
Yeah.
He could be a bad guy on Hardcastle and McCormick. Yeah.
I wasn't mad about the casting. I just because his face he stood out too much.
Well, I had you went down the music rabbit hole. I had to go down.
Okay.
Who the fuck is this guy? Because he's very good, as we'll see. And I went down the rabbit hole, and this actor's name, the character's name is Mr. Blake, and the actor's name is Cameron Bancroft, which did not ring a bell. He's from Canada, and he's been a lot. I checked his IMDb, and he's got a lot on it. And there's a lot of TV shows that I've never heard of that I assume are Canadian TV shows. But there's one with Jason Priestley called Hockey Town, which I know must be a
Even
Canadian.
I haven't seen that, man. I maybe remember it, but
I think I think it's a reality show. I don't know. But here's what jumped out to me amongst lots of credits: Beverly Hills 90210, like in the 90s, and I'm just gonna admit it. I watched every fucking episode of Beverly Hills 90210. I loved that goddamn show. When it first came on, didn't really give a shit. And then when it got hot, because they were showing new episodes during the summer when everything was in reruns.
That's right.
I was in my early 20s living by myself. I had cable. It was on Wednesday nights. What's on? This is what I'm watching.
Time for 9.
And I got it. And I got into it. I'm a sucker for teenage soap operas. It's another reason why I love Degrassi so much.
I watched it. I was into it. Excuse me.
Oh.
I was part of the. I wasn't. I wasn't.
So you might know who. When I tell you who this guy was, you might remember him.
Okay.
Okay. So, and as the show went on, and I met my ex-wife, she loved it too. We watched it all the way to the bitter fucking end, where we would look at each other and go, "What the fuck is wrong with us? This is the worst show on television." The only time we didn't was when they moved it to be on at the same time as Star Trek Voyager, and I put my fucking foot down. I'm like, nope. No, we're watching fucking Captain Janeway because she's fucking hot. 7 to 9 is hot, but no, give me Captain Janeway, an older woman in command. Nice.
Okay.
Who played Mrs. Columbo, to bring it all back around. But he played a character named Joe Bradley, who appeared on like 8 episodes in a row. Now, I know Joe Bradley probably doesn't ring a bell, but he's tangentially connected to a very famous thing that happened on 90210. So Donna, played by Tori Spelling. Remember, she had a boyfriend, Ray Pruitt. Ray Pruitt, the musician who got involved with this to become more famous for his music career.
That's right.
And he's, from the wrong side of the tracks, and he's poor, and Donna's rich, and they fall in love. And at first it's like, oh, that's cool. He's the only one who's not rich. So what do? He's a woman beater.
Yeah, he threw her down the stairs or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he throws her down the stairs on spring break.
Yeah.
And beats her up a lot. And this ruined his music career because people were going to his shows and people were getting angry because of what he did to poor Donna. Because it's not just pro wrestling, people. People think this shit's real. There are people who think it's real.
Oh, okay. We're crossing over into his. Wow. I see.
No.
I thought you were still talking
career.
storyline.
No.
Was he in the spinoff What
The
was
Heights.
The Heights? Is that him?
Yes.
They had a
The
number
Heights.
one hit.
Yeah, it was a number
How
one
Do You
hit.
Talk to an Angel, which
Yep.
knocked off End of the Road. As like the longest like number one for the. That's so funny, man. That's hilarious. Okay, so
Yeah.
what the fuck does this have to do with the guy from
Well, when they brought Ray back,
Yeah.
at the time, Donna was dating young Joe Bradley, the quarterback at the university. Remember him?
Yeah,
He was a Christian
barely.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was one for his birthday. They managed to get Steve Young to come and throw the football around with him for his birthday, but then he ends up with a disease and he can't achieve his dreams. But he's going to become a coach.
Yeah.
And but Donna can't go with him, and he had an 8-arc run. That's this guy.
Wild.
And I went, I remember that dude.
Yeah.
Because he got into a
totally
fight.
see-
Because he got into a fight with Ray Pruitt. Because he was protecting Donna.
Sure.
And he beat up Ray. And Ray tried to sue him and have him arrested and ruin his college football career.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can totally see him having like that all-American face like 25 years ago.
It's something.
Yeah.
I looked up the picture and I went,
Yeah.
number one, he had 90210 hair, the big bouffant in the front.
Yeah.
So
And the sideburns. That's hilarious.
So anyway, this is the
That's
show,
great.
everyone. Just
That's
telling
great.
everyone, this
I
is
love
the
it.
show.
No, I
And,
love it.
So they're going through the computer, Rip is, and Sarah, and there's something called the Vessel, and it's Vandal Savage's number one possession, the Vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah immediately goes, well, I think they made us. He says, oh, what are you talking about? And she starts rattling shit off. He's like, the mark on all the guards is from South African mercenaries, and I noticed that the girl at the desk had a gun and Mr. Blake here is probably an expert in this type of sword play because I can tell by the callus on his finger. How would you know that? I have the same callus.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh!
Great.
And then they turn around, and then they turn around, and it's this great shot. The banker, the secretary, all of have fucking swords,
like crossbows and shit.
Crossbows.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah.
What did you think of this when they did that turn? And it's cheesy, it's silly as fuck, but I loved it.
Yeah, that was great. I was wondering, like, were there really 1975? Did banks have computers at that time? I thought that felt like a bit of a leap. I don't know if I'm fucking.
They did in Germany.
Oh yes. Yeah. No, that was good.
I totally didn't make that. I was like, you're right. Wait a minute.
Yeah. This fight was good. I mean, I like the. How does this end up? Like they end up getting taken down to.
Well, so they have a huge fight, and Sarah, he told her not to bring weapons. Sarah just reveals that she's just covered in knives.
Yeah.
And she just starts throwing fucking knives and killing people.
That's right.
Murdering everyone to Sammy Hagar. I didn't know what this song was. I love that. To Montrose. Yeah. And she's murdering motherfuckers. And Rip, who we'll find out later is apparently got a great punch, but in this situation he chooses a coat rack.
Yes.
And he's fighting with a coat rack.
Yeah.
And Sarah's killing everybody.
Yeah, killing spree.
And is about to kill young Joe Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
Totally ending his football dreams. For real this time. Until Rip stops her, and she's out of control. They're back at the ship. They take him prisoner. They're back at the ship, and this is when she explains. In the scene where she explains what the Lazarus Pit is, because that's from Arrow. It's from Batman, but from Arrow. The Lazarus Pit is how Ra's al Ghul stays immortal. And when you die, you can be resurrected from the Lazarus Pit, but it makes you crazy and gives you a bloodlust.
Yeah.
At this point, her character is still dealing with the bloodlust.
Yeah.
And
about like I had bloodlust, but now I'm becoming more of a monster.
I'm a monster now, and her and Rip have a nice scene. Katie Lotz and Arthur Darvill, the scenes they have over the course of this show, they're outstanding together. They're great acting partners. Because with him, it's give or take depending on who he's acting with, because he could chew the scenery. She brings kind
of True Lies kind of feel to this scene when they were dancing. Yeah.
So they interrogate the banker, and he knows who Rip is. He's like, Garib.
Kareem.
And he's like, and he's all smiles. He's like, you're fucked. You don't know what you're getting into. You're fucked. Because we have an order. And yeah, we're having a meeting. We're having a get together. We're having a party. In fact, I bet you the actor who you recognize from as a scientist was in.
Could have been one of the.
Well, his other part was a party goer.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
I think this was what other party would Vandal Savage's scientist be at?
Good point.
Except for this, weird, we were drinking hawk blood party, but let's get to that.
Yeah. But One Punch Ripper shuts up Mr. Blake here.
But Rip tells, boom, knocks him the fuck out. No, because he insinuates that he's a failure because he kind of senses that Rip failed at protecting somebody.
Yeah.
Which he did, and boy does he, when we get to the big time travel twist of this show. But so Rip tells Sarah that he failed to kill Savage in Egypt, and she tells him, hey, it's hard to kill if you're a good man,
Yeah.
And,
after there had been really good dialogue, I thought this dialogue was bad. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it wasn't hot.
Anyways.
But anyway, so they get into the party with young Bradley. And you get this line of dialogue because Sarah's in the back seat with a knife to his guts, and the security guard is like, "Oh, I guess your wife's out of town, Mr. Blake." He goes, "That's a pointed observation." That should have been done, and he did it he kind of did it like Adam West. West,
totally.
That is an Adam West like. That's a pointed observation.
I mean, like James Mason in North by Northwest.
Oh yeah, okay.
Your most convincing portrayal, I assure you.
Let me try my James Mason. That's a pointed observation.
A pointed observation. Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, that's it.
So, knocks him out. So they leave him in the trunk.
Yes.
They infiltrate the gathering and they dance, the dance was a nice little touch. And he's like, I'll lead, Miss Lance. She's like, I'm not much of a dancer. Oh, you dance divinely. So then they fake it and they go and they find Carter's body.
Yeah.
And he's just he's just as dynamic as he was in the first episode here.
I was wondering, do you think they brought him back? Because they probably shot that pilot first. You know what I mean? like way ahead of episode 3, I'm guessing.
So here's his direction. Here's what we need you to do. Here's what we need you to do. Just lay there still like a block of wood. We know you can do this.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's him. And he's got a mask on too. But I want to mention, here we go, watching this with my wife. She recognized this ballroom as the Hotel Georgia. She went there for she works downtown. She has a really nice government job with our provincial government, the BC Securities Commission. She had a Christmas party there where.
Do they want to sponsor a podcast?
Today's episode is brought to you by the province of British Columbia.
That'd be huge.
That's hilarious. A part of your heritage. She had that's the thing with my wife's company. I mean, it's a really good job because it's a government job and she's looked after. But her Christmas parties, no guests, no significant others. So it's always like I just get to hear about these parties. I'm like, wow, yeah, I guess that kind of looks like a nice ballroom.
So what are they doing? Okay, so hold on a second. Are you telling me that your wife is a worshiper of Vandal Savage?
She's one of the Eyes Wide Shut people here. This was one of the Christmas parties. I want to say though, while that ballroom does look nice, I did not like the way that this was shot. I thought it looked really cheap.
Dark.
With the red lights through all of it. It looked like I don't know. It looked low budget. Like it looked like they were relying on a lack of set. Like they just had the dance floor in the middle there. You know what I mean? It looked like a dance floor in an auditorium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I think took me a little out. Other than the fact that it's Hawks bullshit that we're all got. Eventually, everyone gets brought into it.
Yeah.
So it ends up being exciting. But
it's gonna be. I mean, there's even with Hawkman dead, there's going to be a modicum of Hawks bullshit through this for a while because it's just part of the DNA that he's the villain. You know, that's she's supposed to kill him, but We'll see. It takes a few twists and turns as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. But that was a nice touch so his throat is slit as part of the ceremony.
Yeah.
And that makes Kendra speak for the first time, so she comes to life. And then wait, is this wormy guy? Was he there before?
Yes. He's the one I mentioned. He's the one I mentioned from the last episode that his current role is the creepy doctor. The mortuary doctor on Riverdale.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I love him.
What's his character's name?
Here, I have no idea.
Yeah,
on Riverdale, it's something totally ridiculous because it's
Does he keep showing up? He's just like a savage lackey kind of thing, or next in line?
On this show, no, not really, because they get into a lot of because this is 1975. They go all over time. So Savage doesn't like bring this guy with him.
Yeah.
So
he's got a wormy for every decade. That's Savage.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this guy is great with his hair all.
I was really looking forward to calling him Wormy for the rest of the season.
I think we can just call him Wormy because I don't think they call him anything. So from now on, he's Wormy. Yeah. Have you met my? You've met my companion Wormy. So Wormy gets off the line. He's like. Oh, it's not about wealth. It's about followers. We are legion. Mm-hmm. And I like that part that Savage over the course of history is not just, he's building a cult around him that has been existing for 4,000 years. And the thing is, the vessel is because when he gets his hands on a dead hawk, the blood's good too because he absorbs the essence that keeps him alive, but he can share the blood with his followers and keeps them alive for a few more 100 years. That's it. Which I like that touch. I like that. So maybe we will see Wormy again if he keeps drinking hawk blood.
Wormy.
I love your support. But then we got Rip. So he's while he's cutting the blood of Hawkman. We get this great line. As cheesy as the set looked here, and Savage's give or take throughout this first season, I liked Savage here. Mm-hmm. I thought Casper Crump was outstanding here. When he cutting the neck to get the blood so people can drink it, he's like, yes. I'm going to have to do this as Randall Savage. Jack the Ripper showed me the benefits of severing the carotid artery. Yeah.
I like that, yeah.
And I like that. Yeah. And then they've got Rip, and he finds Rip's locket. He's like, what? Garib, he's been 4,000 years. Why do you want to kill me? I don't even know who you are. And he opens up the locket, and he sees him. He's like, he figures it out. He's like, I look forward to meeting them. Yeah. And then when Rip kills him, or kills him temporarily,
kills in quotation marks,
yeah. And he goes. So, number one, Rip's already just shown him the picture of his wife and child. So, he's the reason why Savage knows. Then he stabs and goes, that was for Miranda and Jonas. And Savage is gurgling blood. He's like, now I know their names.
Yeah, Jesus.
I look forward to meeting them. And I was like, I love that. I thought that was good shit.
Badass. It gives you,
I loved it.
That adds to the helplessness that Rip feels too.
That he's never good because he's never going to be able to save them. I'm not giving anything away.
Sure.
Time is time. But when before that happens though, and they've got Rip and Sarah, they're holding them, and Savage is going. He's like, you don't know what it's like to have people who will follow you to the gates of hell. And then you hear the spaceship outside and see the lights, and Rip goes, actually, I believe I have an idea.
Yes,
and they burst in, and it's Leonard Snart and Mick Rory, Heat Wave and Captain Cold, just frying people and freezing them. Yeah. And he bursts in, and Heat Wave goes, let's get this party started.
Yes.
And Captain Cold blasts him and goes, here's our invitations.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, it's so... right off the page, baby.
Oh, right
out
of the comic book page.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. No, they don't write comic books that fun anymore. They're trying to make them too serious now. Yeah. That's some fun shit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, back to the Eyes Wide Shut thing. They even reference that.
Yeah.
When Rory rescues Rory rescues Sarah, and this is so like forced dialogue, but I like it. In the middle of all this chaos, Mick Rory gets off a zinger. He's like,
Yeah.
well, this is something different. I didn't picture you for the eyes wide shut type.
One of Kubrick's more minor works,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
No.
Yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey. The last 20 minutes is horse shit. Of Doctor Strangelove.
Anyways, we should get the fuck out of here. This is messed up.
Yeah. You want to go what? Do you have DVDs on this ship? But there's a nice bit because Sarah, it looks like she's stabbing the shit out of young Joe Bradley, and they flash to it, and she's just stabbing around him.
Right next to him. Yeah, it sounds like he's just turning his face into the hamburger.
Yeah, I loved how. I mean, yes, it looked cheesy as fuck, but I love how it all worked out story wise here. Because I've already given up on like, oh, this looks shit. This looks cheesy. That these shows all do, to an extent. This season especially, they invest a little more, and they're really smart about how they use their money as it goes on.
Yeah.
This sort of shit. It's
So the whole thing, the whole ceremony happened, and they did everything that Vandal wanted to do. Right? Wormy got his.
They got their blood.
And then at the end, they're like, well, thanks. At least we did this for Carter. And I was like, what did they do for Carter exactly?
No, here's what they did for Carter. They got his body because this is an abomination.
Yeah.
And they get his body, and they're on the ship, and Sarah comes and gets a Snart and Jax after they have their moment. And because she goes, what? He goes, we're saying goodbye, and they're having a funeral. This makes me laugh so hard. They're having a funeral for Carter Hall. And Rip's giving a speech about, we've had our losses, but now I know we've come together. It seems a lot like, did you just meet these people? This rousing speech is, okay, fine, whatever. Which is, you see, because Rory just walks away like, what the fuck ever. He doesn't care, which is actually, that's his character. But then they, because by now, Kendra now knows about that they're soulmates. That was one of the things when he died. She's like, oh shit, he really was my soulmate.
Yeah.
So now she's suddenly sad about something she wasn't sad about. It's lame.
Yeah.
It's really lame. That the whole point of the beginning was, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
You're telling, and now all of a sudden she does, and she's mourning. She's mourning this guy that she just met.
And I have a feeling she's going to drag everybody down.
Boy, she does in the last scene. But before we get to this last scene, they cut wherever they decided in Leipzig, Germany, that they were going to bury Carter Hall. And they made the time. I guess Gideon had the time to make a tombstone. But they flash to the tombstone, and it just says Carter. That's it. They spent all their tombstone budget on that fight scene from the beginning of the show.
Or like Kendra doesn't even fucking know. She's like, oh shit, we got to make this tombstone. Go ask Kendra what his first name is.
Carter, right?
Actually, it's just Carter. Like she honestly, I never asked.
He's Carter Hall, right? I don't know. I think just Carter. Well, from when was he born?
I mean, that's how we know him. Nobody else is. We're in 1975. Nobody's expecting him to be here. Rip gives your own apology speech.
Yes, your old apology.
And then here comes that perfect strangers harmonica.
But the downer of this is because they're talking. They're like, hey, all right, we got Carter's body. I'm totally honest with you now. We're a team. We're gonna bring him down. And Stein's like, well, now that Kendra's okay, we're all together. And Rip goes, yes, we're at full strength. And they're all happy. We're at full strength. And it cuts over to Kendra and goes, as full strength as we could be without Carter. No. And it cuts to Rip, and Rip kind of puts his hand on his forehead like, yes, of course. Of course. Of course. Even Rip's is like, boy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And
get over
he's
it.
there's a lot of that coming up. It's great.
Yeah. Oh man.
Her mourning the guy that she just met.
Interesting.
But we get as Rip's explaining, okay, we're all in this together, right? And he's trying to give this rousing speech, and Leonard Snart just goes, all right, so the basic is you don't ditch us and we won't ditch you. Deal? Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, cool. They're all in it. And we're off to 1986.
Yeah.
For what I'm going to tell you already is a two-parter.
Cool.
And it's a two-parter in the 80s, and it's a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I'm pretty
see, we'll see what Warner Brothers owns music rights for the 80s.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited, man. That'll be fun. My wife's excited. My daughter's excited. She loves the 80s. My daughter had an 80s birthday when she turned 4.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool.
Was it depressing with the constant threat of nuclear war?
No, there was a ton of coke, man. Made up.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Gideon Guys. You can follow us on Twitter at Guys Gideon. Yeah. Please, we want to hear from you. We've got guests coming up. Something we've talked about is we'd like to have guests every now and then on the show, and I've got a surprise for people in a few episodes. I've got a guest coming up, someone I haven't done radio with since 1989.
Wow.
Will be joining us for the show. We've got other people who have asked or lined up. But reach out. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you like. Let us know if you think it's shitty. I mean, we don't really give a shit what you think. But we want to hear from you.
We want to know that you're listening, guys.
Travis, you got anything else you want to plug? What's your social media deets?
Yeah. I'm still at WCTSS or at Lucha Aftergrund, GRND. That's about it. I'm excited for this new project, guys. So stick with us. And like I said, Johnny, this has been super fun these first couple of weeks. Looking forward to where we go with this and the show.
All right, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Adios.
Thank you.